22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time, the theme of our readings really is so clear. It's all about humility. From the first reading from Sirach to the gospel reading, we really just have it clear. We are supposed to, make ourselves less. We are supposed to lift up the lowly. We are supposed to not think so highly of ourselves. And the reality is, no matter what standing we have in life, no matter what privilege or prestige or honor or wealth, whatever it is, it all comes from the Lord, and the Lord has a preferential choice for the poor anyway, and the lowly. So whether in mind, body, or spirit, whether materially or spiritually, we ought to, look for opportunities to lift up those who are most in need. So that's really the call of the Lord on our lives. And again, maybe you don't have these dinner party situations where you have a place to choose a seat of honor, but you have opportunities every day of your life to find someone who is financially in need, who is emotionally or spiritually, psychologically in need. And even just speak a word of hope and blessing into those people's lives and lift them up to something more. I want to say a word about the letter to the Hebrews as well. I love this explanation, this naming of the experience of the Israelites at Mount Sinai. The experience of hearing the voice of God was so terrifying for them that they begged Moses to tell God, please don't ever let him speak to us like that again. And you know what? God, in his humility, honored that place in the hearts and lives of the Israelites. He didn't really speak to them like that again. He let Moses be a go-between, and Moses went up the mountain and conversed with God, and the people didn't have to hear, such a terrifying experience yet again. And it may or may not have been, the quickest way, for the people to grow in holiness. It's still God's choice. It's the right choice, but he honored the desire of their heart in that. And then fast forward into Christianity, we may not have heard this terrifying experience of God's voice on the mountain, but again, God humbles himself in becoming a human person so that he might speak to us in human form through the person of Jesus. God's humility, becoming like the earth, like we ought to be as well in our own relationships with other people. Those we know well, those we love, those we don't love, and those that we just become acquainted with, to step down into the needs of others and to lift them up to a higher place, to make them rich in God's grace, that we might become poor in our own sense, and so privileged in the preference of God's love for the poor.